Hello everyone, it's DuckFaden07 and this is another RAKDOS wastenot video. This deck is a RAKDOS mid-range, fair mid-range deck, trying to utilize interaction between discard, burning inquiry, and some other cards in the deck like wastenot that gets huge profit from the burning inquiry, drawing, each player drawing, discarding 3. Obviously orcishbowmasters, but also sheoldred the apocalypse, and also Croxa can see benefit from it too. So we are trying to utilize wastenot and orcishbowmasters to be absolutely great, the best they can be in this deck. Also, sheoldred is better here than in other lists. So if you're looking for a RAKDOS mid-range list that is strong, that is fun to play and fun to play against, I think this is definitely an option for you. Also, in this list, a ring fits in perfectly. Like it's been made exactly for this list. I really like it. Also, a lot of times when you have the wastenot, you get to play it at turn 3. It's very easy to get a mana of the wastenot trigger to be able to play a 4-drop on your turn 3 like sheoldred or the One Ring, or even escape the Croxa. This happens often than you would think. Okay, so other than this, we have some discard that works great with a wastenot. You draw a card each time they discard, or if it's non-creature, of course. Some removals, fatal push, bolts, terminates, some card advantage in spyros, also the One Rings, and that's it. So we are going to go through the gameplay and see how this list felt. Okay, I already have 2 gameplay videos of this exact same list on my channel. And I did incredibly well with it. And I had at some point 22-3 score with the list, but it was like a few weeks ago when orcishbowmaster just entered the format. So I wanted to make a new one to show how the list feels right now. It was extremely strong at the beginning, but now metagame adjusted to orcishbowmasters, and there are now a lot more opposing bowmasters than it was before. So I wanted to make a new video to show the deck still feels great, has a great win rate, and taking care of opponents' bowmasters is not really that problem. So, um, just a friendly reminder before we start to click like, click subscribe, comment in the video, and tell me about your tournament results if you played this deck. So I'm really excited always to hear that stuff, and I don't have much sources to hear it from. So if you play the deck in paper or on MTGO, just write it in the comments. I'm excited to hear what was your result. Okay, so off we go. The game 1 started first. Opponent Totsis. It was Dimir. I think it was Dimir control. Opponent started with the Pierce. But they played Lorien on their turn, so luckily they didn't have Pierce for my wastenot, which is very good when you resolve it. This means most of my Totsis will draw a card. Also, my Croxa trigger will often will give me a wastenot trigger. So I was kind of stuck on lands in this game 1, but had a good hand, so it was fine. Opponent was also kind of stuck on lands, so it was a fair game. I decided to go immediately for both Ragavan and Bowmasters because my opponent was tapped. But they had the perfect response to it, so the Ragavan is not great in this matchup. They have Bowmasters, they have Snapcasters, and yeah, it's not great. And they had the solution for both of my creatures. But yeah, this is another cool thing right now about wastenot. Lot of decks played the Lorien Revealed, all the Troll of Khazad-dûm or other land cyclers, and when they cycle the Lorien, you have wastenot on the field, you get to draw a card, which is, I don't know, I mean, it's at least funny, but it's also incredibly powerful. I had 2 great plays in this moment. I had option to play the One Ring, but also Burning Inquiry. At this point, with wastenot on the field, Burning Inquiry is super strong spell. So I decide to go for the ring this turn and see what happens next. Okay, so I'm in a good situation here. I have wastenot in the field. My orc army token opponent is just on 2 cards, but I draw the spyro. I really can't wait to cast this Furies from my hand, so I decide to go for the spyro immediately, make my elemental tokens, hoping they don't have bowmaster response. They didn't have it, so I draw a land, the bowmasters of my own, and I'm very happy with this situation at the moment. Opponent goes for damnation, exiles my graveyard, which is definitely very good for the opponent, but I draw into, I had bowmasters end of turn, into top deck a spyro, into Totsis, drawing me another card from the wastenot. Unfortunately, it was just 2 lands, but still. My opponent was also on 0. I had lethal for the next turn, and that is it. They concede. Let's check out game 2. Okay, in the game 2, starting with 2 lands, unfortunately no red mana, with the spyro in hand, but I decided to keep anyway. I had Totsis, I had turn 1 play, I had turn 2 play, so I decided it's good enough. Okay, I cast the Totsis, this was my opponent hand. I choose to discard Counterspell. I get the red source that was pretty good. So my opponent now had 2 Sauron ransoms, so I decided to get rid of one of ransom. 2 is really a lot. So at this point, they still had the Stern Scolding and the second ransom, so I just decided to like play double creature at this point to let them counter the first and then resolve the second. Again, this was okay situation for me. Opponent had opportunity to go for explosives here or the ransom, but they decided just to go for the dress down. I think this was pretty mediocre from the opponent, and I play the inquiry. I get the 4 mana, and I unfortunately discarded a lot of the good cards here, like wastenot, spyro, bolt, but I was able to immediately cast sheoldred. And yeah, so that is pretty good against my opponent's deck. So yeah, my opponent casts, I don't know, I think what my opponent was trying to do here was cast explosives for 4, but they probably didn't know how exactly explosives work. They probably thought they're going to get explosives with 4 counters, but they only paid blue mana, so explosives enter the battlefield with 1 counter. So they also just weren't able to activate it. They didn't have mana, so it was a misplay from my opponent because they didn't know how the card works. And on their turn, they try to find a solution, maybe damnation, but yeah, that was GG. Okay, so that was match 1. Let's go see the second one. Okay, I would say this is a really great hand. I was playing against 4-color control, but opponent kept 6 lands hand with and onering. Yeah, and like incredibly, I succeeded to lose this one, but I then won the second and the third one. Yeah, so my hand just wasn't very aggressive. If I had like Ragavan in a situation like this, it would be incredible. I did. Unfortunately, opponent did find a counter spell for my bowmasters. That was pretty good. And I really needed that land to resolve this sheoldred, which was just incredibly good threat at this point. But unfortunately, I got the tapped one, so it wasn't as effective. And opponent was still on 4 mana and yeah, very close to like stabilizing, getting a good top deck. And yeah, they now they had Solitude, and I think turn after they find the One Ring, so it really doesn't matter that they drew only a lens. When they get the One Ring, it's just The One Ring is just so good. Yeah. So they had a subtlety here. I put a Fury on top, and I had a Bolt to get rid of the Solitude, and Fury to replay it next turn. But yeah, so now opponent had a 6 mana to immediately go for Kahira, put it on the field. I now replay my Fury, and we are both in a top deck mode. We both play Ring, and I have Kroxa in the graveyard and missing just one card to be able to play Kroxa, which would be huge. Huge. So my opponent is on 0 cards, but they draw the One Ring, and I'm also on 0 cards and also draw the One Ring. So it's pretty close game. But yeah, so the thing is, they have this card, and this card is really incredible with the One Ring. When opponent has the One Ring and the Minamo land on the field, it's just so hard to win against this. They already drew like 3 cards, and on their turn they can draw like five more cards, which is just insane. And they also immediately draw solution for my ring, killing my ring, and I only got to draw a single card with it. So yeah, I wasn't able to get out of this, and my opponent just had a better top decks at this point, and that was it. So let's check out game 2. Okay, this was another pretty good example of a good hand. Let's see how I sideboarded for this matchup. Furies went out, Fatal Pushes went out, also Terminates, didn't need them. I brought in just 2 Blood Moons, not a third one. I think I brought in a third one. I think at this point I just couldn't. All my cards are pretty good in this matchup, so I didn't want to sideboard a lot of them out. But yeah, I drew the Blood Moon and I played it in a good situation. And basically, yeah, opponent had the One Ring, but I had the sheoldred, and they were also kind of stuck on land, so their One Ring didn't matter. They were far from it. Even if they played, they are like, I have the cast into the fire, so they got the mana to play it, and I was not in a hurry. I had a solution for the ring. I had wastenot on the field, and after I draw the spyro, I decide to cast I cast this immediately and cast the spyro, and my opponent and I now had the ring of my own and the bowmasters, so that was game over at this point. Opponent has another solitude in hand to kill my spyro or bowmasters or whatever, but it's at this point they can't kill the ring, they can't kill the blood moon, and it is game over. Okay, so let's check out the game 3. All of these hands are also just very good. But yeah, in this situation, when I have wastenot in the hand and the Totsis, I always play Totsis on turn 1. Totsis turn 1 is just, you must play it. You will draw your wastenot payoffs later, don't worry. Okay, so in this situation, I had the option to play the wastenot into the counterspell, which I didn't really want to do. So I decided to go for the bowmasters end of turn, then try to go wastenot on my turn. They went like, this was okay. They went for Fire Eyes, giving me another counter on my Orc army, and I played another Totsis. So their hand, which was March, Solitude, Fire Eyes, I didn't mind that hand. I was happy with them icing my land. I had bowmasters and make another token of my orc army, which was incredible. So they had to use another card to just get rid of the army. And yeah, I was just at this point, I was just waiting for the lands to absolutely destroy my opponent. Unfortunately, they had veto for the wastenot, but they didn't have veto for inquiry. And yeah, inquiry is just super strong at this point. With orcishbowmasters, it's 3 damage to face, create a 3/3 token, and mess up their entire hand. They discarded Lorien Counterspell Solitude, which is just sick. And yeah, so I also messed up my hand a bit, but I had Spyro in graveyard, I had Castle Lotwine, so this was, and also had the cast into the fire in my hand. So Castle Lotwine is just super strong in situations like this, and I draw into the Turak, discarding a Wheel and Solitude from my opponent's hand. Also, all their removal is white, and the Turak is premium card in this matchup. Opponent finds Omnat, so it is really exciting match. They go Omnat plus Kahira, so I also kind of need to find something here. I top deck Blood Moon. I decide to use it, so they're still kind of they have 2 white mana and 1 blue, so this means they can't cast counter spells and some other spells too, but they can cast Solitude and most of their spells, but still they don't have access to green and other spells. So I had my Kroxa. Kroxa was very good in this situation. I also had Turak on the field. Unfortunately, opponent had a solution for Kroxa. So I had to stay back with the Turak, preventing them attacking me, killing me. But it was fine. I had spyros in my graveyard. I created tokens to be able to jump the Omnat and just start attacking with the Turak. They can't really block Turak unless they draw a lens. It is a pretty good clock. They can't use fetches for the Blood Moon, so they can't gain super high amount of life with this. But yeah, okay, so I'm holding back cast into the fire for the ring and have the bolt. I was able to finish off Omnat with a bolt and use my castle Loctwine once again. So they find another land from the Omnat draw ability. I didn't have a target for my cast into the fire, so I just discard both of my cards. And now I had some good blockers here. So I was able to stay back with my jumpers and still use like Castle Loctwine or something else if I need it. I decided to cast the Turak just to get another counter on my first Turak. I discarded the Spell Pierce from their hand, leaving my opponent on 3 life and had plenty of jumpers. And yeah, this was a losing game for the opponent. They had to find a solution immediately. For the Turak, they found it. I used Castle Loctwine in my upkeep so I don't lose the extra life. Attack with Turak and just finish my opponent with a bolt on their upkeep. So that was the game. Okay, that was a match 2 against blue against 4 color control. So we can go on to the match 3. Okay, I have a burning inquiry in starting hand, but currently no payoffs. But since I play so many of it, like 3 wastenot, 4 orcishbowmasters, 3 sheoldreds, it is always a dangerous card. And as you can see right now, but in a lot of situations also, opponent will very often choose to discard the burning inquiry when you have like hands with a lot of playables. There, it can be really a dangerous card to play against. Okay, so my opponent minus the Wren last turn. Because of that, I had the opportunity to kill Wren with the bowmasters. This is like super good. I love when this happens. So I ping the Wren and 6 end of turn, attack it for 2, and I succeed to kill their best solution for the bowmasters. Also use the Croxa. 5 cards in my graveyard. This means that possibly next turn I can cast the Croxa immediately. They put the sheoldred into my graveyard, so I didn't need to top deck anything to be able to cast it. So I cast the Croxa, which is obviously pretty strong. In this situation, they had immediate removal for both Croxa and Bowmasters, unfortunately, but now they were on 0 cards. So we were both in the top deck mode because I just had 2 lands in my hand. But this was fine. Opponent finds Spellbomb, unfortunately, to get rid of my Croxa. And they also find Bowmasters from their of the top of their library, which makes my Ragavan pretty useless. I also had terrible top decks like Totsis and those lands from before. So this just wasn't really going my way. And yeah, they were getting better cards. Second Urza Saga was just so brutal. I did find a sheoldred in the situation where like one Burning Inquiry wins me the game. I have a lot of very good top decks. And yeah, Burning Inquiry is just so dangerous with when you have the sheoldred on the field. Now they had the Shadow Spear, unfortunately, so this means I don't have as much of options. In this situation, I cast Totsis just to be able to cast Croxa from the graveyard, but they have too much stuff at this point, so that is the game, and I have to win the next 2 to turn this around. Okay, it was a very, very close, exciting game, but yeah, opponent had a better top decks in the top deck war. Okay, so this is like the dream hand. You really want hands like this one against when you're playing against mid-range decks. Turn 2 wastenot is just very powerful. They have limited options to get rid of it. Even if they do have like Haywire Might, they still have to have the Haywire Might for the Blood Moon and for the onering. So yeah, they tap out, and this is where you want to find your opponent. When this happens, there is like no decks that can beat this. So you get 4/4 token. Bowmasters, you completely mess up. You can completely mess up your opponent's hand with the inquiry, and you still get lot of wastenot triggers from the inquiry. So it's very hard for the opponent to get back into the game after a start like this. I also had a follow-up ring with the Croxa and the Sheoldred in hand and the Fatal Push, so basically had everything. My opponent did have like pretty good hand, 7/8 Tarmogoyfs, which is just absolutely brutal, but it still didn't matter because my hand was just better at this point. Uh, it's very hard to beat the onering, even with the double goyf and the bowmasters. I still have sheoldred on my side of the field. I draw 3 more cards. Opponent concedes the game immediately. That's it. Okay, so let's check out the game tree. Oh, by the way, I finally put the Dark Fadens. What is it called? Avatar? Yeah, I finally put the Dark Fadens avatar. It was just, yeah, I wanted to do that long ago, but I don't, kind of, it wasn't too important for me. I never had the time. Also, like, what is up with these mid-range players? Their clock is just 8 minutes at this point, and my clock is 20 minutes. Yeah, okay, I do sometimes AFK a lot, so I can't complain too much. I do AFK sometimes when I have to. I went to ping the Vren. They had a bolt, so it was fine situation for me. It was fine situation for me. I had Croxa in my graveyard. Croxa is very good in this mid-range matchups. You really want to have this card available to you if it's possible. I still had Hidetsugu perfectly. You really want to cast Hidetsugu after you do the after they do the Urza Saga stuff. So okay, so in this situation, I didn't have much solutions in my hand, and I decided to go for the risky play of casting the Burning Inquiry. And yeah, by casting the Burning Inquiry, I messed up my opponent's hand a bit, and I got a fatal push immediately in my hand to be able to kill the Goif, and this was pretty important because Goif is just it is just so large in this matchup. So I did discard my Hidetsugu, but I still had the cast into the fire and the ring. So I was kind of hoping for the one ring to get me out of this situation, and my opponent had returned another saga with Renan 6. So I just used my cast into fire to kill one of the constructs to slow them down a bit. So they play another Urza Saga and make another construct token and another Fable. I was really hoping. I didn't have a lot at this point, but as they say, the heart is in the cards, and I was saving the discard in my hand, and this card is just so brutal. And I top deck the orcishbowmasters. My opponent paid a lot of their life themselves. So I top decked the orcishbowmasters. My opponent was on 4 life. I pinged them 1 to the face, and they were completely tapped out except for this treasure token. And I played the Burning Inquiry to 0.3 damage from the orcishbowmasters to their face for the lethal, and somehow succeed to win this game, which was almost completely lost already. But yeah, one good top deck was enough, and this play of Orcish Bowmasters and Burning Inquiry is just so often game winning. I really like this. Even in the meta game full of the Bowmasters, you still have your own Bowmasters, you have bolts, you have pushes, you have so many solutions for it. Totsis is also there. You can really well play around opponents' bowmasters, and that's a partially reason why I wanted to make a new video from this with this deck to show you that it is possible to play the Burning Inquiry deck in the meta full of the bowmasters. So this is a bowmasters deck. Dimir was also bowmasters deck. I succeeded to win all of these matchups. Okay, that was the jump matchup. So let's jump to the match 4 and see how that went. Okay, so again, pretty good hand. 2-lander with a turn 1 play, turn 2 play, and this hand is kind of just missing the Burning Inquiry to be a perfect hand I like. And again, another Bowmasters matchup. I really like this. Just really would like to show that it is possible to play this deck in the Bowmasters meta game. So I'm really happy that this league had a lot of these Bowmasters matchups where people just play their bowmasters, and I still won all these games with the Burning Inquiry, and Burning Inquiry was still insane, providing great value. Also, Sheoldred, so good against these preordained decks, and there is a lot of them at the moment. Also, I'm very happy to say that this deck has a positive scam matchup. Unfortunately, opponents had the force of negation there. This Burning Inquiry would be just so brutal. They would lose 6. I would gain 6 and get the 3 wastenot abilities. That is just brutal. Okay, so I had a Fury here, but I decided to go for the Inquiry. Unfortunately, opponent has another Force of Negation, but it is okay still. Wastenot can really provide a huge value in this deck. Okay, I top deck cast a Locked Wine. That is very good hand in a situation like this when you are attacking. And yeah, so I find the bowmasters. And opponent taps out for the ransom. I decide to go play my bowmasters on my own. I split this pile like this, and opponent chooses. They choose they didn't choose the subtlety counterspell, so they choose fatal push, force of negation. For Kroxa, also Kroxa great with the wastenot. This means each time you get the Kroxa ability, you also get the wastenot ability. This is just so good. I didn't mind them playing the subtlety. This was a perfect chance for me to play the Fury here, and yeah, so they will have to deal with this Fury. It's a great attacker next turn. I know they have a push for the Orc token, but yeah, Fury is just really good threat in a situation like this. And I decide not to go for a Kroxa plus Kroxa replay, but to use my castle ability and just play Kroxa once. I think this is a fine strategy. I'm just doing so much value at this point. They really can't do much in a situation like this. I find another Blood Crypt. And top deck the Totsis. So first I go for the Totsis here. Opponent plays the counter spell. I attack with the Fury to see what solution do they have for it. And of course it is a bowmasters. So they get to jump the with the bowmasters. But I have lethal with the sheoldred. I know their last card is Force of Negation, so that is the game. Okay, let's check out the game 2. Again, a very good hand. Okay, so let's see the sideboard. Actually, I can see I forgot in this game to sideboard correctly because I accidentally left all my Ragavans in. Usually against the Bowmasters deck, I board out 2 Ragavans, but this time I think I forgot to do it or I was distracted by something, so there is no much use in looking at this. Okay, but I usually sometimes I sideboard against some versions. I sideboard all my Ragavans, especially on the draw. On the draw is just so bad. On the play it can be decent. On the play, when you're on the play, so they can't immediately kill it with the bowmasters. It can be decent, but sometimes it can be good on the draw. Obviously, when they just don't have a solution for it, but they always have it. Yeah, it's just so brutal against Ragavan and the Bowmasters when they have their Bowmasters, but I it is a fair game because you still have the Bowmasters of your own and you can do the same thing to them. So I was in a good position despite them doing that great play against me, and I resolved my sheoldred in this situation, which just was too powerful. They don't have an immediate solution for it, so they just lose a game. And yeah, so that's it. They also have the frantic inventory in their hand, which is terrible. They should have gone for the subtlety, but they didn't do it, so that is GG. Okay, so let's watch out the last match of this league. Okay, so last match against Hammer Time. Starting off with the Ragavan. I have the Fury, I have the Bolt. Inquiry is useless at the moment because I don't have I don't have bowmasters or wastenot, but it is often just very this card is just so often very useful. My opponent resolves a Forge Avenue. This is a pretty hard situation. I have to have instant speed removal every turn to prevent them from equipping. Of course, that is impossible, but I have the ring, so I'm just trying to win this game uh, without attacking, and that is definitely possible with this deck, and you will see how. So it is important to put a lot of jumpers on the field, and to find and to keep these burning inquiries in hand. These burning inquiries is a key to winning this game. Opponent has the pro red, but I have their top tier, which I exiled with Ragavan. I go cast the bowmasters end of turn. They still have protection from everything I have, but I was looking for this top deck, and now I found it. Sheoldred. Sheoldred Burning Inquiry. I get 3 Sheoldred triggers, I mean 6, gaining and then draining life. Also get 3 bowmasters abilities, which means the Burning Inquiry does 9 damage, which is just sick. I also had a second Burning Inquiry for 9 more damage, which is 18 to face, and opponent yeah, I mean it's lethal. Okay, so pretty cool game one against Hammer. Let's see how the second one went. I have a great sideboard for this matchup. Hiratsugu just humiliates them every time. I can't remember ever losing a game against Hammer when I had this card in hand. It's just so good. If you can draw the bolts and any kind of interaction to live until you cast the Hiritsugu, when you cast it, it's mostly a game over. Okay, so I had a window here to cast the wastenot, which was pretty good. And this means all my discard spells get me a wastenot trigger, so I had Totsis drawing me a card, discarding them the Steel Shaper's gift. They were on a plan, on the Urza Saga plan, which was fine for my hand because I had a double Hiritsugu and it's just humiliating. Okay, let's see how against their hand. So let's see how I sideboarded Ragavan South. They are not great, especially on the draw. Season Pyros out and the one ring. I mean, not the one ring, but one of the copies of the one ring is on the sideboard. So I also put in the 2 Blood Moons from the sideboard for their Urza Sagas and what is it called, the Infect Land. Also, Hiratsugus, of course, are so good in the matchup. And yeah, double Hiritsugu is just, I mean, it doesn't get more brutal against Hammer than double Hiritsugu. Also, I also had one ring. It is not fair. Yeah, it really feels unfair. Okay, so I had multiple options here, but of course I decided to just go for another Hiritsugu and another inquiry, getting me a lot of mana here, so I was able to cast my Sheoldred immediately, also cast another inquiry immediately. This is just brutal. Opponent is still playing. Yeah, so that's it. Okay, so I had another inquiry for the next turn to end the game, so that was GG. Also gained like 12 life. That is the league. Hope you like the gameplay. Again, a reminder to subscribe, like, and comment, especially if you have a gameplay experience with this list from the videos. This means I mean this for all of my videos. If you have a gameplay experience in the paper magic with the brews from my channel, I'm really glad to get the feedback from the players playing it in the paper casually and competitively, whatever. Okay, so that's it. The list is basically unchanged from my last video, and I'm very happy with it. Have a perfect amount of the Burning Inquiry payoffs in the main, some more of them in the sideboard, in Turak, in Doughty, and I really like how this looks, and I still don't want to change anything. And that's it. I hope you like this update video, and that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.